Hi guys, today I'm gonna show you how to make your own custom map. I'm starting out here in Cities Skylines map, the subreddit, and maps, and we're gonna click on this link here and it'll take us to Terrain Party, which is a really cool website that allows you to get height maps for pretty much anywhere in the world. A lot of areas the resolution isn't quite as good as some areas, but usually the US and Europe are pretty good. Now you notice this little square I'm dragging around, that's the area that you're going to be taking a picture of, basically, for a height map. You kind of have to drag it along with you until you find where you want to go. Today I'm going to do Astoria, Portland, or Astoria, Oregon, near Portland. And I'm going to bump this up as wide as it'll go to get some area. So now we're at 60 kilometers square. I believe it's, I don't know if it's the full size of 60 kilometers or just the playable area, but anyway. So I'm going to center this. These are the playable squares, assuming you have the mod that unlocks them all. But we're going to center that on the area that we find interesting. And I think the fun part of this area here is we're going to have a nice central river with some nice flow going out and some kind of hilly areas, and then you can bridge across this gap at some point in your gameplay. So it should make for an interesting map. So once you've got it selected, the area that you like, you click on the export and you can name it, and I'll call it Astoria. And it will download to your downloads folder, I believe. But once it finishes here, anytime now, just go ahead and click on Open, or double click on it if it is slow. And it'll come up with these different height maps. And it says to, usually the merged is pretty good if you don't really care, but if you open these up, you'll see a black and white image. The white is the high areas and the black is the low areas. So this is the 30-meter resolution map. I'm not sure what ASTER stands for, but then you can click through. This one's got a lot of artifacts. This is the merged one, and the reason it's got the artifacts is because of this one here, the 10-meter. Got some weird stuff in there. So the merged one just takes them all and kind of mushes them together. That one's out, obviously, because it's got basically no resolution. And that might not be too bad if you didn't want all these nooks and crannies here that we're going to get. But we're going to smooth out a lot of this stuff. So I think this is the best one. I'm going to use this one, or is it the other one? I've already played with this a little bit. That's the 30. This one's not too bad. But I think I like the SRTM3 version 4.1, whatever that means. So once you figure out which one you want to take that and you want to put it in the Cities Skylines folder for height maps, and that is located, if you go to the, oh gosh, where is this? You go to local, where's the full, there we go. You go to the app data, local, colossal order, city skylines, add-ons, map editor, height maps. So once you find that folder, take the one that you like. We're going to take this one, we're going to drag it over into here, and it'll save it. So once you've done that, then we can go into City Skylines. Okay, once you're in back in City Skylines, you can open up the map editor, and we'll want to select New. I'm just going to, I like Boreal. I could do the new European ones, but that's not, they're okay, but I'm okay with the old version of the buildings. So we're going to do it in Boreal just for fun. And it's going to take half an hour here. I don't have the fastest laptop in the world, but so hopefully we won't have too many frame rate issues, but we shall see. Alright, so once you're in the map editor here, get rid of that. What we need to do is import that height map that we just saved, which is right here for Astoria. We'll import that, and there we have it. So you can see here is the river flowing through, here's the ocean, and here's the sandbars. So we got a lot of work to do to make this buildable. Like this area right here, there's nothing you can do with this. So we need to smooth that out quite a bit. And maybe by choosing that fuzzy picture, it would do a lot of the work for us. But I like having the control of picking the areas that I want to smooth out and the areas that I don't. I'm going to start by getting the ocean level, and you just click on the move sea level and just drag it. It's kind of, there it goes. Click it a couple times and it'll fill in the sea for you. And I'm going to start by adding some water sources up here at the head of the river. And I kind of like to put a little dam here, so I'm going to use the level tool to just kind of create a little dam across the back here so the water doesn't flow out the back. Whoops. A little bigger, be fine. So we're going to put a dam across the back so the water doesn't flow backwards. And then we're going to create some water sources in here, and I want a fair amount of flow. And I'm not sure what the max water capacity is. If you just drag it up to the top, you get 1. Let's see what that looks like here. So if I place that there and speed this up a little bit, you can see it's flowing pretty good here. Now what happens if we try 50? I'm not sure what this is going to do here, see if that makes a difference. So I think 1 might be the maximum, because that seems about the same amount of flow. So I'm not sure why you can adjust this if it doesn't do much of a difference. So, oops. So I'm just going to use 1s. If you right click on them, you can erase them, and then you can place them elsewhere. So I'm going to place them up here at the mouth of the river. Actually, let's flatten that out just for the fun of it. Let's get rid of those little islands right there. So I'm going to place 3 or 4 of these water sources. Put 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. And that should give me a decent amount of flow going down towards the ocean. Now if you highlight, or if you put your mouse over the top of these, you can see how it brightens, and it kind of moves the height of the water a little bit. If you left click on the water source, you can change the height at which it tries to fill to. Now it'll never fill this high because it's going to be flowing down towards the sea, but we can bump this up a little bit if we want to make sure we got some decent flow. It's more important when you're doing lakes and that kind of thing to get the right outfall, but maybe we'll talk about that later. Alright, so now we've got the water flowing a little bit. We just kind of let it sit there because it takes forever for the water to figure out how it wants to flow. So we'll move on to the terrain tools. And the main tool that I'm going to be using is the soften tool. I'm going to bump up the size to a fair amount. And the strength of these, the soften tool, you want to have it maxed out pretty much. But when you switch to a level tool, you want to dump that way down because it's way more strength than it needs to. But you need to have the soften tool pretty high or it won't do much. Bump that a little bit. So I'm going to go through and basically make these areas buildable, because right now they're not really buildable. I'm going to actually bump up the, I'm going to try the level tool, because I want this just to be a little bit higher so I don't have to worry about flooding. So I'm going to pick a height that I want to level this area at. So I'm going to go over here to these mountains and just kind of right click on a height that looks about right, maybe a little bit higher. So I'm going to go pick a different height there, click on that, and let's see how this does. So that's, is that even doing anything? Yeah, it's building it up a little bit. So that gives me a little extra height, a little extra protection from floods. I'm going to go ahead and fill in this area a little bit, give me some more area. I don't really care about being exactly true to the terrain that was there. It's more about creating a map that's fun to play and has plenty of areas to build while keeping the character of the area that you are working with. So once I've got that built up a little bit, I'm going to go back to the soften tool, bump the strength up a lot, and I'm going to kind of knock off these edges a little bit. I don't like the way that they're kind of blocky like that. That's from the height map. So we're just kind of soften that up. And all that water that's floating around on top will settle down eventually, and then we can come back and adjust it if we need to. I'm going to knock these hills down a little bit just to have something to build on. I switch back and forth between the level tool and the soften tool when I want to kind of create a plateau. So I'll right click to select the plateau height I want, and that gives me a nice little building area up there. I do the same thing over here, so pick a height there, just kind of gently level that out a little bit. And let's see, I want to save a little bit of the mountainous area there, but I need a area to build here, so I'm going to flatten that out a little bit. And I'll pick another height over here, just kind of play it by eye. I come up with some cool areas to build on. And another tool you can use is the slope tool, and the way this works is you pick a height that you want it to go up to. So if we want to do a ramp going up here, we could right click on that height and then go down below, left click, and it will create a ramp up to the area that we picked, which is pretty cool. Go back to the soften tool, and I could bump the brush strength up a little bit, and we'll soften the hell out of this. And I'm kind of checking to see if we got areas that we can build on. It's pretty steep up here, but might make for some interesting areas. Gonna soften the coast out a little bit. Knock those edges off. I'm going to kind of keep this little cool looking peninsula here, so I'm just going to soften the edges of that. Make it look a little more realistic. Take that stuff out. Looks kind of silly. And I'm not worried about the areas outside the map yet. I'll go through and just soften those later once I get all this stuff figured out on the buildable areas. So that's pretty good. There's a few areas to build on. I gotta let this water settle down and figure out where it's gonna settle out to. So let's hop over to the other side. This spit of land here, I want to raise that up like I did that other side. So pick the level tool again, and let's pick a height that we want to level it out to, all the way up there, but maybe right in here. I keep forgetting to knock that brush strength down a little bit. So that's pretty good. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Raise it up just a little bit so we're not quite so close to sea level. And once I get a nice plateau going, I'll switch over to the soften tool and knock the edges off. that water is going to settle out, and take another look at it here in a minute and see if we got what we achieved. Sorry about that. I have the button in the background, and we just hit 4 seconds again. I need to turn that off. Let's see here. Close window. Alright, I'm back. Alright, we gotta level a lot of this area out, or we're gonna have nothing to build on, so we soften it first. How about that? Whoops. It's not quite what I meant to do, but it's not too bad. I wish you could, I wish they would adjust the strength of these, because the soften tool is way out of proportion to the level tool. I'd like to have this a little stronger at times, but or at least I wouldn't have to change the setting each time I go back and forth. That would be nice. I want to keep the little mountains there just for some character. Soften this up a little bit. Now this area, I want to kind of keep that little ridge there. That looks good, but I want to soften the area here. Have some areas to build up on the sides of the mountain. Doing anything? Yeah, there we go. So that might be a nice little community right there. And I'll keep that ridge there, but I'll kind of knock these valleys out. And then I'll switch back to the level tool, and I'll create some plateaus. Knock that strength down again. A little more. Alright, so I have a little plateau up there, and I'll keep changing the height of it just to kind of vary things a little bit. And let's build this up just a bit. Knock this down. That should work pretty good. Let's level this out just a little bit. Open here, create some areas. Keep that little peak there. And again, I'm right clicking to change the heights every once in a while just to create a little bit of differential in heights. Alright, let me try softening this up and see what it looks like. Okay, soften this just a little bit to create a gap for a highway to go through there, probably. That should be plenty. Alright, more softening. Let me widen this plateau out just a little bit. Not much you can do on the top of that, so we'll create a little bit more room here just to do something interesting. And I'll use the slope tool to create a slope down. Again, I'm going to right click on the height I want to get to, and then I'll go over to where I want to start and left click and hold and kind of create a ramp towards that area. And then I can soften that. Let's try that again. Soften that. And now we can access that area pretty easily. Alright, I think that's most of the buildable areas. Might do a little bit more fine tuning. But I'm going to take a huge brush size and just kind of go over the other areas and just kind of knock them off just a little bit. Not much at all. This height map is actually pretty good. A lot of the maps you'll get have some really jagged peaks, and it just doesn't look really realistic, so I like just to kind of knock the edges off just slightly. Again, you're not playing this area, but just to make it look similar to the area you're playing rather than much different. Alright, take one quick pass over this. Yeah, that's good enough. This needs to be smoothed out. There we go. I think that's pretty good as far as buildable area. Not a lot of buildable area in this map because of this huge river going through, but there is some possibilities of damming up areas and reclaiming land, which would be fun. Need to let the water settle out quite a bit to see what's going on. Another trick you can do is click on this little water flow icon and just kind of check out and make sure you're getting some nice flow through here. It's not a huge flow, or the arrows aren't that big simply because it's a huge river, but I think that's plenty of flow to allow for proper waste disposal and be able to get some nice clean water. Can knock some of these islands out, smooth them out a little bit. Alright, I don't see any other obvious areas that I need to address. So, while we're waiting for the water to settle again, let's start in on the access. We'll start with the road. And where do I want the road to come from? Probably from Portland, I would imagine. Or you could have it coming up this bit here. Or maybe we'll have the second one there. Have a second incoming here. Not sure if I want to create the bridge going across or leave that for the player to do. I think we'll leave that for the player to do later. I'm going to create one highway here and then the second highway coming down from there, even though in real life I think that's actually a peninsula. Could have it coming from over there. Where do I want the start area to be? I think right in here. I'll have the start area right there. So I'll have the first highway come up into that start area, and then I'll have another highway coming down into this area here. And then the player can maybe bridge across this once they have enough money and access the second incoming road. Alright, so let's start over here and click on the left click there at the very edge. And I like to use the freeform tool. Select the direction you want to go and just kind of some nice gentle curves. And I'm just going to run the highway right into the area and stop it. I'm not going to put any interchanges. I'll just leave that for the player to decide how they want to do it. And I'll just eyeball this and try to get it roughly parallel. It doesn't really matter because it's outside the map. out to the end, and make sure we got our 2 arrows there. And we'll go over here, and since it's so uneven, I'm going to use the slope tool to create kind of a road bed. And I'm going to dump this size down quite a bit and the strength down quite a bit to roughly the size of the roadway. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to kind of pick the area I'm aiming for. I want the road to kind of climb over this hill here, so we'll click on the top of that, and then just kind of, let's start right there, and just kind of create a path towards that hill. Just kind of like you pretend you're a road builder, and want somewhat of a straight shot. And then I want to come around this hill, so I'll pick the low point there, and I'll kind of drag around following the contour a little bit just so it looks like it's supposed to be there. Click the high point again, slope up to that. And you can kind of create a little bit of a cut if you click a little bit lower than you wanted and drag towards there. See, I'm going to do a little bit lower than that, so I'll drag that again. See how it's cutting down into it. And then I want to fill this area in, so I'll drag it like this. And then we're back into some relatively smooth area. Just use the smoothing tool a little bit right there. Alright, now we're ready for the road. I'm going to start here and kind of follow the grade that we made. Leaving enough room on the left to have the return. It's a little too humpy for my taste, so I'm going to knock that off just a little bit. There we go. Smooth that back down. I like to have fairly smooth roads, realistic looking roadways. Otherwise it kind of catches my eye and it looks weird. So again, we'll run the highway out, not being super careful about being exactly parallel because it doesn't matter. Alright, there we go. Good enough. Alright, so we have our 2 highway connections. You could add some more if you wanted to, but I think that's enough for this map. No interchanges. Now the train, where do we want the train to come in at? Probably should have it coming from Portland again. And I think I'll have it kind of run out down the coast. So again, you don't need to be this silly about it, but I'm going to pretend I'm a railroad grade engineer and try to make this as level as possible for a train. So what I'm going to do is kind of do a lot of cut and fills here. So we use the slope tool. Let me bump the strength up a little bit more. And then I'm going to hop across here. I need to build that up a little bit better. So I'm going to take the level tool and select that area here and build that up. and then I'll create a bridge across there. And I'm going to come back later and knock off some of these hills so it doesn't look quite so massive of a road project or a railroad project. Now, I don't want to keep going that way. I need to kind of follow the roadway. So I'm going to switch back to the slope tool, and I'll go ahead and fill this area in. So I'll select the lower area here, a little higher than that. Okay. So I'm going to aim towards the roadway, follow that for a little bit. And then I'm going to cut across here and see how it's creating a little bit of a fill right there. And then we're going to go into a cut like so. And let's do another little bridge there. Let me build this up a little bit first. So I'm going to select over at the high area and build it up and then stop. And then start again over here. And then go back to the slope tool and work my way around. So I'm clicking left or right clicking in the low areas and then dragging towards that. Bump the strength up just a little bit more. And then I want to follow the contours. Where do I want to aim? I think I'm going to have to go across the body of water and aim out and go towards there. So right click there and then smooth that out. And then I can level this off a little bit. Maybe a little bit lower than that. Not that low. That's good. And I'll use the level tool across here just to make it better for our passengers. And I'll go ahead and build this up here. Not that much. Not that low. Somewhere in between, there we go. So I want these grades to be roughly the same. And now I'll switch back to the slope tool and kind of work my way down to the, I need to fill this in, don't I? Bump that up, bump that down, go for the level tool, select an area, fill all this in. And smooth it off. Alright, now where was I? I was coming across right here. Boom, boom, right there is where I stopped. So I'll take the slope tool, fix my brush again. I want to aim for this flat area down here, so I'll right click on that and then just kind of pick a path towards that. I know a lot of you are thinking, why are you wasting so much time on this? But I think it looks cool, so. Rather than a train track that goes up and down violently. It just doesn't make any sense. Alright, so as far as doing these bridges, if you notice, if you go a bit of an angle, it'll just be a regular bridge like that. But if you go straight, it turns into the trestle, and I much prefer the trestles, so I always like to do those whenever possible. And you want to kind of move this back and forth till you get the shape that you want. Obviously you don't want it diving down at the left side there. Where's straight out? There it is. Okay. So I want to move this back and forth until I get there we go. That's what I want. And then I'll carry that around. Nice smooth curve. Just like a train should be. And then we're going to do the same bridge technique here. I have to get to the side to see what it's doing. Sometimes it won't click into place properly, and you'll have to go back into the middle, use the page up and page down keys, and do it manually. Kind of get eye level with it, and going in the right direction. It's about level, and then usually after that, remember to page down to get back to ground level. Makes it a lot easier. So that looks pretty good. Alright, and onward. It's going to go right across here, wasn't I? So that is pretty... It's about the same. It's not too bad. It is a little bit higher, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do this one either. I'm going to have to build it up first here. So page up. So I'm going in the right direction. It's about level. I'm going to go a little bit up because I need to climb a little bit. And page back down to get to ground level. Move across to get the trestles. And there she is. Where's the next area? Right there. Okay. Might get this in one shot here. That's pretty good. One more bridge and we're done. Again, I'm moving this back and forth to get the right profile. It's pretty good. I'll take that. And we'll just run this to the edge of the map. There it is. So we have a realistic looking train line instead of one that jumps up and down. Now for shipping, I'm just going to run the shipping across down the coast. I don't think I'll have it come inside the river's mouth. That one shipping line should be fine. So got our arrow over there. Got an arrow there, so that's good. One shipping line, and we'll just do one airline route. Screw it, we'll do two. Whoops. Clicked a little too soon there. Alright, we're good there. Good there for 4 plane connections. And that should do it as far as the transportation. Resources. I don't use resources too much. I haven't figured out the proper technique to getting those to work really well, but I should add them in anyway, just in case somebody wants them. So I'm going to pick a mountainous area and add some ore area. Farmland I like to put in the flat areas just to satisfy personal preferences. Oil. Where should we put some oil? Let's put some oil right here. Make it a little bit easy to get to right away. And maybe some more over here. And maybe a little bit more ore over here. And that should be just fine. Alright, so that's take care of the natural resources. And now we can add some trees. Keep it mostly coniferous, is that the right word? Select the brush, use that one. To bump this down quite a bit until I get the right, yeah, that should be plenty strong enough, and I'll just sprinkle some around here. Where should we have a tree farm at? Maybe right in here, so we'll put a little extra right through there. And just kind of, oops, that was a little strong, but bump this down a little bit more. See, the strengths on these buttons are just so out of whack with each other. It's kind of a pain. Just randomly place some trees, then we'll switch over to a different type of tree and just sprinkle some in there. Put more in our forest area. Just whatever looks good to you. And then maybe put some, so let me add a little bit more, what is wild comfort? A little bit more of these up in the mountains. And another trick you can do is, instead of just doing this haphazard like I'm doing, you can kind of follow these little canyons, and that looks a little bit more realistic than having them randomly spread, because that's where the trees are usually going to grow, in these lower areas. So if you want to get a little artistic with it, you can. And then deciduous trees down near the bottom, maybe the lower areas. And I'll pick you on these. Add some more in our forest. Throw a few bushes in here. Alright. That's fine. Alright, so what do we have left? Sand. I'm not going to bother with sand. I don't really care too much about the wildlife spawn points, but I'll just throw one in for fun. This is new. I wonder why they put this in here. That's from the new update. I don't know why that's there. Just spam billboards. Huh. Doesn't seem to work. Oh, there we go. That's kind of silly. And if you right click, you can erase this stuff, theoretically. Come on. Go away. There it is. Alright, so that's odd. I need to pick the start tile, and I chose that one. Take a snapshot for the workshop, and we're pretty much done. I want to check the water flow again. We've got nice water flow. There's not really a great spot for dams here. I might build this area up right here. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that just to show you how it's done. We're going to kind of create some mountains right here and make an area where you could dam it up. Just because I like the option of having a dam. So let me kind of go pretty wide on this. I'm just going to take this whole area up a little higher. And so the dam's going to go across there if the player so desires. Build this area up a little bit. And then we're going to have the river coming through here. So we'll lower that down. Kind of follow that contour there. And that should work. It's not going to be a huge amount of power generated, but it's something. So let's go ahead and going to wall up the end of this like I did the other river using the level tool. Select the height and go across, and then go to a water source, and I'll just put one of these here, or maybe two. See what that does. And get a nice flow of water coming through there. Let me smooth this area out. Okay. Let me build this area up a little bit. I keep saying let me. Of course you're going to let me. Word crutch. Alright. I think that'll work pretty good. I'm going to let that the water settle down, but this should be ready to go. So I hope that's given you a few ideas. Oh, I wanted to show you one more thing. Normally I would do this in the middle of the map where it would make sense, but I want to show you how to kind of make this look a little bit more natural if you're so inclined. I'm going to drop this down, go with the smoothing tool, and I'm going to kind of go around the this here, and let's see, here's a better area. Actually, let me use the up and down tool, the shift tool. So I'm going to drop this area here, and what I'm trying to kind of create is the illusion that they've moved some dirt to create a fill area there, and then go back and soften that in. And so if you were actually building a railroad across here, what you do is if you didn't need to build a bridge, you just push some dirt through the valley and create a level area like that. I want to knock this down a little bit because that's kind of unrealistic to move that much dirt. And you can kind of create a little bit more visual interest as you're doing this. Looks pretty good. Oops, trying to change the brush size. So you can create fill areas there, and you can also create cut areas too by filling around. See how it did that? Kind of create a mountain here, and the builders of this railroad kind of had to cut through there because they couldn't go left, they couldn't go right. We'll smooth that off just a hair. So they blasted right through the mountain there, and that creates a lot of realism, I believe, to your maps. This doesn't look quite right, so I'm going to build this area up like that. So I'm kind of going overboard with it, and then use the smooth soften tool. I keep saying smooth tool, don't I? To kind of take a little bit back out of it. Looks pretty good, I guess. And you can do the same for the roads, obviously. Whoops, I want to go down. Soften that off. Alright, and I just wanted to show you that little technique. Alright, so I think that map, I'm going to call this map done. This will be Astoria, Oregon, and I'll put it on my workshop page, and this water will settle out eventually, and we'll have a nice flow coming through here, and the main Columbia River coming down through here. So, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. See ya.